Nerd alert! Learning is important, right?
Yes, exactly. What a bunch of nerds.
Nerd alert!
Right.
Marketing Architects.
Hello, and welcome to the Marketing Architects, a research-first podcast dedicated to answering your toughest marketing questions. I'm Elena Jasper. I run the marketing team here at Marketing Architects, and I'm joined by my co-host, Rob DeMars, the Chief Product Architect of Misfits and Machines.
Hello.
We're back with your weekly Nerd Alert. Every week, I'll take a deep dive into academic marketing research and translate its complex ideas into simple, understandable language for Rob, and of course, for all of you. Are you ready to nerd out, Rob?
Elena, I'm downloading Nerd Protocol, and I am ready.
Okay. I don't know why it's so funny. Oh, okay. Sorry. All right. Let's get into it. As always, we'll link the research we cover in the episode notes. This week, I read a study titled Competing for Consumer Identity, Limits to Self-Expression and the Perils of Lifestyle Branding. This is by Alexander Chernev, Ryan Hamilton, and David Gall, published in the Journal of Marketing in 2011. But before we get into things, Rob, here's a question for you. Have you ever felt like companies are all trying to make you, say, express yourself through their products? Like almost every sneaker, watch, soda brand today wants you to say something about who you are.
Yeah, I actually can't think of a brand that isn't trying to make me feel like I'm expressing myself through them, except for maybe the post office, because nobody wants to be the post office. But yeah, I think every brand that is an inherent part of being a brand.
If you're advertising, if you're targeting someone with marketing, you're trying to kind of tap into their self-expression.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, this study investigates that. And the big idea here is that our need for self-expression is actually finite. Brands that position themselves as a lifestyle or identity brand, they're not just competing with direct category rivals, they're competing across categories, even against non-brand forms of self-expression, like hobbies, social media, or even something as simple as customizing our sneakers. The researchers argue that once people have already expressed themselves enough, their appetite for self-expressive brands declines. This phenomenon is called identity saturation. And to test this, the researchers ran 5 experiments, each examining how identity expression affects brand preferences. In the first experiment, 102 students were split into 2 groups. One listed their favorite brands, a high self-expression condition, while the other listed brands their parents liked, which they considered a low self-expression condition. Then everyone evaluated the brands in categories like backpacks, watches, deodorant, sunglasses, and jeans. The group that listed their own brands rated the next set of brands as less personally relevant. The average score was a 45 versus a 55. And they showed smaller preference gaps between top choices. So in other words, just thinking about your favorite brands reduces your enthusiasm for new brands. So Rob, when you think about the brands that you're loyal to, do you care more about the symbolic meaning behind them, like identity or status, or just whether they work and do the job you need done?
I definitely over-index on liking the brand. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I've grown up in advertising, and so you just really like a good brand, or I'm just a very shallow person with a hole in my heart, and I'm trying to fill it with all the different brands out there. But yes, I definitely connect with brands that are doing that.
All right, so you'd prefer that over just judging a brand based on can it do the job you need done?
I mean, I'm embarrassed to say that, but yes.
Okay, no, it's
I'm
fine.
shallow. I mean, I'm just being real. Like, I think it's why we're in advertising. We recognize, and maybe I'm going against what the study says, but we recognize that creating these stories and these feelings for a brand actually matters to people. So I guess I'm really going against what the study said.
No, the study is not saying that that this is bad or that people aren't interested in these types of brands. It's actually more looking at our capacity to care for brands. So
sure,
let's talk about the second experiment. This time they had over 100 executives listed either their favorite sports teams, books, and hobbies, or they did some sort of neutral filler task. Then they rated brands in symbolic categories like Nike sneakers, maybe Rolex watches, versus more functional brands like paper towels or cereal. Identity saturation hit symbolic brands the hardest. So for these symbolic brands that Rob, you're buying because of who they are, personal relevance dropped from 63 to 46 when participants had just listed other favorite self-expressive items. For functional brands, the drop was smaller, 58 to 51. So essentially, lifestyle brands are especially vulnerable to this identity saturation effect. Then a third experiment, over 100 students evaluated sets of brands. Some started with highly self-expressive categories like fashions, while others started with low relevance categories. Later, when they rated average relevance categories, the first group showed weaker brand preferences and saw brands as more similar to one another. So the mere act of evaluating these more self-expressive brands drained enthusiasm for the subsequent brands that they looked at. So Rob, another question for you. How do you feel when you discover something that you thought was unique to you, like maybe a brand you love, then you've come to find out it's actually super popular?
I guess this is kind of the same thing. Back in the 90s, I was a very big fan of a band out of South Carolina called Hootie and the Blowfish. Okay. No one had heard of them. A college friend introduced me to them. I'm just like, this is the greatest band ever. Then they became the biggest band ever, like in the 90s. And then I hated them. Like every frat boy on frat row listened to Hootie and the Blowfish. And I'm like, I'm done. So the music didn't change. It wasn't like, didn't get bad all of a sudden. It's just now everybody liked Hootie and the Blowfish. And you've never even heard of them, have you,
I
Elena?
have. That's Darius
Have
Rucker,
you?
right?
It sure is.
Yes, I'm aware of Hootie and the
Hold My
Blowfish.
Hand, still a great tune.
Yeah, no, I like their music. I have a similar one where I watched One Direction on X Factor and really liked them, and then they became like one of the biggest boy bands for my generation.
Okay. Yep.
Kind of ruins it a little bit. Or like I thought that I
does.
had something special here. All right. So in experiment 4, the researchers manipulated identity threat. So basically 122 students were told their tastes were either very unique, like which is some validation, or very similar to others, which feels like a threat. Afterward, they rated brands in categories like sunglasses, shirts, pens, and jackets. When participants felt their uniqueness was threatened, like Rob did when Hootie and the Blowfish became popular, their brand preferences got stronger. They rated favorite brands higher, kind of 54 versus a 42, and they were willing to pay more. For a jacket, they were willing to pay $133 versus $99. So that shows that identity saturation, it can be reversed if people start to feel like their individuality is at risk. And in experiment 5, they had 87 adults design a t-shirt online. Half designed one for themselves, which is a high self-expression act, half for a parent, which is low expression. They then rated the brands across 6 categories, and those who designed for themselves showed weaker brand connections, perceived brands as more similar, and were willing to pay much less, $73 versus $111 on average. So engaging in self-expressive acts directly reduced willingness to pay for lifestyle brands. Across all these experiments, the evidence came together to find this. Identity expression is like a limited resource. Once you've expressed yourself through one avenue, additional self-expressive brands matter less. Now it's time for our Rob GPT. Identity branding is like filling up on apps before dinner. At first, those nachos taste amazing, but the more you eat, the less room you have for the main course. Brands that market themselves as a way to express who you are going to face the same problem. We only have so much appetite for self-expression, and once it's satisfied, the next brand feels less special.
You did it. I get it now. I totally get it. It took me a little bit. Thank you. So I get it. Like a person only has so many brands that they can associate themselves with. And once they've found those brands, that's not important to them, right? It's emotional. But once they found them, the decision fatigue is done because they're like, I don't want to associate with any other ones right now. I got my dance card full.
Yes, exactly. I think of this as, I don't think it's bad to be a lifestyle brand, but that shouldn't be your only marketing strategy or your only messaging strategy, because you risk just people not having the capacity to fill up their identity with your brand. So it's probably better off maybe to have that as part of your marketing, but also try to be first to mind and ready when they reach a category entry point. It's probably a good strategy because we can only take so much self-expression. I actually wonder if this is more true today too, as people are expressing themselves more online. I feel like you can always express yourself if you want to, so you have even less capacity to
expression exhausted.
Yes. That's it for this episode of The Marketing Architects. We'd like to thank Taylor De Los Reyes for producing the show. You can connect with us on LinkedIn, and if you like the podcast, please leave us a review. Now go forth and build great marketing.
By the power of Nerd Skull, I have the power. You don't know what that is, do you?
I don't get it. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Maybe I got to do a different one. That was so funny. But this
we can leave it.
Without... No, we'll do a different one. It's so funny. It's a He-Man thing.
I'm sorry. I don't know what that is.
Marketing Architects.